let's introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Benson Campbell. And I've got Benson's biography here as maybe you attempt to share your screen, Benson, as I stop that, and hopefully you can do yours. So this is Benson Campbell. His business name is B&I Devon and Cornwall. His profession is executive director. His location is Devon. Been there for 7 years. His family information, probably previous types of jobs: area manager with Dreams and executive manager with MFI. His family information, no spouse. He has children: Becky, Sabrina, Livy, and 4 grandchildren: Esme, Spencer, Jaden, and Evelyn. No animals. Enjoys watching and playing sports. Loves dancing. Brackets usually at soul events at weekends. Sorry. Other interests: cooking, entertaining, and DIY. Hometown is Newton Abbot for 22 years. Benson's burning desire is to help others to see their true potential. Something no one knows about Benson: he travelled the world in 2006, visiting 21 countries and visited many of the world's famous landmarks, which include Taj Mahal, Great Wall of China, Petronas Towers, Ayers Rock, dived in the Great Barrier Reef, Milford Sounds, Machu Picchu, Christ the Redeemer, Sugarloaf Mountain, and playing football under the floodlight at midnight on Copacabana Beach. And also, maybe a claim to fame, he was at the London Olympics on Super Saturday, 50 metres from the finish line. Benson's key to success: passion for helping others and helping people to see their options. Benson, it's a privilege to have you with us. I know you're going to be speaking for maybe half an hour or so, and hopefully you'll be able to just hang around for a few question and answers. So guys, if you've got any question and answers for Benson for afterwards, then please put it in the chat. I'll pick him up, or we can ask you it later on. Benson, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Thanks, guys. Welcome. Thanks for having me. I guess for me, the one piece, and we've talked about several times today, is accountability. And I guess to get some interaction going, if you don't mind facilitating this, Liam, well, just get what accountability means to you as an individual and within BNI and within your business. If you just put that in the chat, and then we can try and look at that, because it's interesting, because everyone's got a different perspective on it. And I guess this cartoon kind of, you may know someone that this resonates with, that, it's accountability, and whose fault is that, so it's a real understanding about what we really want to try and get out of this. So what I want to do by the end of this presentation is just kind of hope that you will identify the areas in which you can impact in your business, and conversely into the chapters. And that depends whether you've got employees, it's just about you and yourself. Okay, have you got any?
Yep, we've got keeping your word, being responsible for your own actions and outcomes, do what you say you're going to do, taking ownership and responsibility, being responsible for your own actions. Again, being responsibility, do what you say you're going to do. Okay. I'll come to most of those. I'm just see whether you see it slightly different. I'm not here to change people's mindset about what they believe is right or wrong. What you believe is what you believe. What I just want to do is kind of take you through this presentation and just get you to think about things from a slightly different perspective, because we all have accountability, and we give accountability more often than we realise. And to take this through where I recognised it, and at the time it happened, I didn't really recognise it, but I do now. So what I want to do is take it back to 1978. Some people might, have you got any youngsters on here? So back in 1978, there were only 3 channels available. So some of the youngsters won't even know what this means. The idea of a remote control, okay, was your parents telling the kids to
turn the telly over. And then the Bee Gees were #1 in the charts. For those people who remember Top of the Pops, I think it was on a Thursday. And Grange Hill made its first appearance on TV. And all that, okay, is just to kind of give you, visualise back into what 1978 was like. And then it was mid-morning, and the father of the family is just returning home. And just as he walks through the door, his sister, who is there looking after the children, is waiting for an update. But the phone rings, and it's the hospital calling him back from where he's just come from. And everyone kind of knew what the call meant, but nothing was said. He just spent another night with his wife in the hospital, and she'd been there for a couple of weeks, and she was battling with cancer. So the father races back to the hospital, and eventually he phones the house to share the news that his wife and the mother of these children had passed away. I didn't know this was a thing at the time, but the auntie drew the curtains, and in some cultures that's actually an indication that someone's passed away. But what I just want you to think about is the family's just lost the mother, and she left behind 5 children, the eldest being 15 and the youngest being 10. And just imagine what that impact would be if that happened to you. And consider the impact of the loss of a mother and a wife. And all the things that have to take place afterwards in terms of how do you run the family home. The father was a coal miner, so he spent most of his working day underground. And just think about all those kind of decisions. Does he have to change his job so that is accessible, and just in terms of the routine? And one of the first things that he had to make clear to the children was that they would stay together, as outsiders were just suggesting that they should be split up. You have to think about what actions you would take to keep the family going, and the decisions that you make in terms of, even just social activities. But if you're going to be away and not accessible for a large part of the day with those children, okay, then there are things you have to put in place. So he brought in home help to get the children ready for school in the morning, to ensure that they had breakfast. He also couldn't do all the household tasks of running the family home, and I guess, if we all think about the elements as parents that we have within the home, putting all that onto one big and then 5 children, what would that look like? So, just think of the simple things of washing up, emptying the bins, cooking, the bathing, the cleaning, the hoovering, the shopping, all those elements that come to that components. And the father's position was that, he was a coal miner. So again, in terms of just preparation for the family and comfort, just in terms of lighting the fire before he goes off to work, and just thinking that you kind of have to get up even earlier than you would to start an early shift, just to ensure that there was heating in the house. And you may ask yourself what this all has to do with accountability. Well, I was one of these children, and at 14, I had the responsibility that my friends at the time didn't necessarily have, in terms of the chores that I had to do for the benefit of running the family home with a single parent. And we weren't unique in terms of being a single parent family. Okay, in terms of the loss, it was significant to us. But I'm sure you can appreciate that responsibility that's on his shoulders, my father's shoulders, in terms of, if you get a phone call and say, your child's not well at school today, well, if you're 4 miles underground and 4 miles in, okay, it takes nearly an hour to get out, just to get to the surface, there's lots of things that can have an impact to your working day. And it was interesting when I put this together, I actually came across this picture, which is virtually a spitting image of the role that he had, that he was responsible for that machine actually functioning in terms of in the mines. But all these small acts, which seem insignificant, turned cogs. And each cog had an overall impact to the successful running of the family home. And I tell this story because I don't think it's any different in our business groups. We do have cogs turning, and we need to ensure that all the roles and tasks that are completed. And it's interesting to watch when something stops happening, how quickly that has an impact on the group when it stops. And it may not have an immediate impact, but actually down the line, it's turned into a habit. So when someone thinks it's okay not to do something that others expect to happen, these cogs stop turning. And there's lots of different things that you can think of in your group where you're expecting certain things to happen, and if we hold certain people to account for those actions, some people talk about this in terms of leadership. Well, actually, accountability for me is when you have to do the things that have an impact on others, you need to ensure that it takes place. And I don't believe we need a massive paradigm shift in most cases. We just need to get those small elements working for us. Now, when you look at the actual image here, accountability, actions towards involving others that reflect the integrity of the person that you want to be. Now, quite often what we hear is, well, I wouldn't do it that way, and that's fine if I know that's the case. But if you're not sharing that what your expected outcome is, then I may fail. And this may create conflict. And actually, sometimes we don't set people up to succeed. We just let them fail. And it's just understanding what that looks like. So from the accountability piece, I don't think it just happens. There are some people that do take the ball and run with it, okay, but it has to be implemented. The disconnect for me is that some people's values aren't in sync with other people's values. Now, we come together on a common cause in terms of our core philosophy of givers gain, but the values that we have in terms of the roles that we want to cascade down to make sure that these groups run efficiently, okay, how often do we hold it? And the interesting element is who in your group delivers the same weekly presentation? Who in your group has said or delivered a weekly presentation in the way, or you know that they've just winged it, they've not thought about it, there's no preparation? And quite often what you hear is, oh, well, that's Benson, he always does it like that, don't worry about it. Okay, and of course, until someone tells me, I won't know. And I remember doing a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and someone told me that I was moving my hands, because I tend to talk with my hands, but I was actually too close to the screen, so of course, I was doing this. And of course, until someone told me, I wasn't going to change it. Now, everybody could have been thinking that, and I think there is the piece of accountability where we have a responsibility to our group to share where we think people don't know what's going, or what impact they're having. And when you look at it from the leadership point of view, the roles that we take, whether you're the power team leader, you know, if you just take that one thing in isolation, a power team leader has to ensure that the teams are meeting. You know, do we invite visitors to a power team? Do we schedule them in? Do we share with what's come out of the power teams back to the membership committee in terms of what roles we're looking to fill? Because Liam's not getting enough business from the group because actually he hasn't got a strategic alliance within his power team. There are lots of little things that have value, because most of the time we talk about leadership, we automatically assume, or leaders, we talk about the three people in the leadership roles. But I think it's all the way down. And I think as members we have responsibilities. So we want to be part of a successful group. And if we create an environment where members can maximise the opportunity for everyone in the group, how good is that for everyone? And it's understanding that there are people that will get more than others, but I don't think we shouldn't work on those individuals that aren't getting the most out of it because we don't have the right people in the group. And sometimes we need to reflect on our own behaviours and even ask the question, what does it feel to be led by me? So if I was in the role as the power team leader and I wasn't getting the most out of someone, I have come from corporate world. And when you are trying to get people that are paid to do what you tell them to do, that doesn't give you the automatic right to be the leader. It just means you've got a senior role. And understanding that what impact you have may mean that you need to ask the question, what does it feel, or what impact, okay, you're trying to get out of the individual. And if they're not responding, that we have the question. Some people may see it as confrontational. I would see it as a piece of accountability. I can't improve something if I don't know what impact I'm having. And if you go away and understand the impact that you have on others, you're more likely to be able to do something about it. Now, it might be that you don't want to do anything about it, but at least you know and you have the choice. And just remember, how can I help is a powerful question, but it's only a powerful question if you listen for the response. And there are too many people that ask the question and they're thinking of a response while the person's talking rather than listening. And if we can help you immerse yourselves more to turn the cogs more consistently within your group and your businesses, what would that look like? And I think there is an element where this is about fulfillment, that there's an appreciation for contributions, but you can only feel so much from that on your own. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do you help your fellow members get their fulfillment? Because there is a need for recognition and a sense of belonging. Do we recruit right? Do we select the right people? It is no to say no to an application may sound like a harsh thing, but is it right that we take people's money when we know they're not going to be a good fit for the group either? And we raise their expectations in something that we know that their attitude isn't going to happen, that the right attitude isn't going to be cascaded along. And this talks in terms of when you look at emotion, what are you going to focus on? And do others understand your drivers and aspirations? And I guess I look at this from the point of view that quite often we assume that the driver is money. And the driver isn't always money. It might be, in my case, I don't like to work Fridays. I very rarely do I schedule anything in on a Friday. It might be that you want to pick your kids up from school, you might want to take them to school, it might be that you want to fulfill a hobby. And until people understand what the drivers are, you can't help people understand why they need to do certain behaviours to get to those results. So it's really thinking about, for those people who struggle to engage to the level that you want, and for those who aren't getting the most out of it, there's always a shift. It's like watching a football player at one football club, okay, can't get on the bench, goes to another team, and all of a sudden he's playing every week. The only difference is that the coach has identified what gets that individual going and managed to utilise them in the right position. And that also applies, and we talked about this earlier in this call, where the group talks about getting the right people doing the right jobs. And it's all right going through a process, going, well, we've ticked the box, we've ticked the box, we've ticked the box, okay, but actually, if it's not right, and we don't understand people's drivers behind it, okay, you're only putting a sticky plaster on something that you're going to have to change anyway. And the quickest thing to do there is not to dwell on it, okay, if you know you've made a poor decision, and just from my point of view, so, you know, within Devon and Cornwall, I know some people promoted me to Lancaster as Mike left, okay, well, we'll keep that one quiet. But in my position down here, it is my responsibility for every new member that joins, and it's also my responsibility for every new member that leaves. Whatever the reason that they left, whether it was right for them or not, okay, I can say, well, you know, that we didn't recruit them right, we didn't support them right. The fact is that accountability piece starts with me. I can look to understand what impact we could have had, how we could have done it better. And until I'm in that position that I know, that I can't challenge someone else with that. Do you want me to admit this person?
Done it, don't worry.
So it's just having a look at that and where, and the crucial thing is that there is for most of us, there is an inherent need to grow and contribute. Most people want to do that, and BNI is a portal that allows people to do that. And then there are some people that are passive in it, which is bizarre. And it's like turning up on a football pitch and you don't have the boots and you expect them to go and run up and down on the pitch. Just, I don't get it myself. So just in terms of where we are in terms of leadership, you know, your leadership defines the culture, but good leaders define cultures, and even if there's someone senior within the elements that you have control of, you can set the standard about how you want that to be, and you can set the models of behaviour that you want people to have in terms of accountability. So for me, accountability is not a one-time thing. Strangely enough, we were talking about this just before. I had someone ask me about, well, you know, well, they're not sure whether they should stay or not in the group. And my honest answer to them was, I'm not here to help you make the right business decision for yourself. I'm here to support you in where you want to take your business. Now, if you don't think that BNI is the right marketing tool for you, then that's the business decision that you need to make. Now, do I want that individual to leave? No, I didn't. But that's not what he asked me. And it's understanding that when you get to that position, okay, that you're there to help people do the right thing. And if their attitude isn't that they want to stay, then it's right that they leave. And we don't need to fall out. They don't become nasty people overnight. We just, you know, it's a choice where they want to market their business. So the best way to get people to accept accountability is to set them up for success. And what I mean by that is that if people are doing things that aren't helping their credibility, then we need to educate them. And until we inform and share, if someone never always wings it, okay, it might be worth saying, hey, Lynn, listen, that's the third week I've seen you deliver that presentation. Are you getting any responses from that? You know, fancy having a one-to-one, seeing if we can do something to change it up a bit. Whatever it happens to be, but we need to be informed that actually the impact to you, now it might be that I've got 6 referrals actually, Benson, so actually it seems to be working fine. Well, do you know what? Okay, well, it didn't resonate with me. I just wanted to make sure that if it's working for you, Lynn, that's great. And I think that we have that sense of accountability even through the times. It's okay to say, yes, it's difficult times. I don't think it's difficult times. I think that people are going through difficult periods right now. Personally, for me, and my mindset is, okay, it's business as usual. There are some people in better position than others. Okay, I don't want to focus on the negative personally for me. And whilst I accept there are people in different positions, there are also a lot of people that, you know, they've pivoted their business and this is the best time to them. And I don't think we need to necessarily rub people's noses in that aren't having success. But from my perspective, there is opportunities out there for people to increase and improve their business if they can find the right niche for their business. So just in terms of where we sit with accountability, I believe individually we are accountable. It's not a one-time thing. It does apply to all. I mean, even for our children, there's an accountability of turning the lights off and turning the water tap off, whatever it happens to be. And then same thing applies within the groups. Accountability can't be delegated, and some people have challenged this quite often. There is a difference between being accountable and doing the things. Okay, so I'm accountable for the members in my region. Now, I don't individually look after all of them, but actually it's my accountability. I need to put the things in place to make sure that they can have the best experience within my region. And accountability is different. Is the difference between success and failure. And I think if we want success, one of the best ways I look at this, when you look at Usain Bolt, he was running for less than 10 seconds every time he went out to a race. His warm-ups probably took over an hour. He probably changed 20 to 30 hours a week to get milliseconds off his performance. So the output is far greater than the end result. Okay, and I think we're in that situation that if we can find more ways to look for success, then we will get it. So just in terms of the advantage of holding people to account, because some people think this is negative and I think it's positive. You let them know that they will be held accountable for their activities, which kind of sets the template because it gives you permission to go back. It gives them the opportunity, gives you the opportunity to provide support if things start to go awry. To go, I notice things haven't worked out. Okay, how can I help? But it also offers the opportunity for praise and encouragement and to move people further along when things are going well. And there has to be a clear and consistent strategy of accountability in terms of it can't be easy, one rule for one and one rule for another. And a really good example of this is that I watched somebody do this in one of my chapters several years ago, and they were, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then held someone to be accountable for following the system, and you're going, double standards there, isn't there? That's a script, and you're saying you're just going to duck that piece, but then you're saying to someone you need to follow the system. So, again, if you're going to do it, then you've got to walk the talk and be consistent with it. And this is something that I kind of did in my corporate world, and I think wherever you are, you have a negative or positive impact within whatever you're doing or whatever results you're trying to achieve. And when we look at it as members and as chapters, okay, are you above or below the line of average? And what I mean by that is that if you're below, you're having a negative impact either in your chapter collectively and your region. And if you're above, you're setting the trend. There's people on 100 points, there's some people on less. What are the behaviours that you could mirror that would get you to the 100 points? And actually, what benefit would that be to your business if you could mirror that? And I think when you look at it from the aspect that change can feel awkward sometimes in terms of habit, that if you're prepared to embrace it, you can have a significant impact not only for yourself, but for others. And the one thing that I think that mirrors this is that, have you ever gone or commuted in a certain way to work and from home, and then that road is closed? And then you find a quicker way to get to work because you've been forced to find another route, or it's a more scenic route. And you get to enjoy that experience because of the force of change. And I think sometimes when you look at the story that I told you, my father's shift had to happen. That was forced. But actually, when you look at accountability and what you're trying to get out of things, then the reality is that we can move things along and change whenever we want to, even just to go and find out. And I think sometimes that element of being uncomfortable, stepping out into something new, okay, and putting your head above the parapet, it may not work. That's okay. It's okay if you say, I'm going to try this, and then take a step back. But if you try it and it works, that's a good thing, isn't it? And it's just identifying that the more we try and change things in terms of our behaviours, then the better that we are. So I just want to kind of leave you with that thought. You know, one-to-ones with people that are finding success in your region or within your chapter, okay, is a positive thing. And whether you do it regionally, nationally or globally, then always reach out to those individuals that are getting the results that you aspire to have. And you might find that the change in behaviour isn't that dramatic. So I'm just going to wrap it up there, Liam. I'm not sure if there's any more comments around accountability, but it'd be interesting to see if those people have thought differently about what accountability is now, now that we kind of looked at it from different perspective.
I mean, brilliant, Benson. Brilliant. What do we feel about that? What do we feel? Put your comments in the chat, please, or unmute yourself. We have had a question in, Benson, on the chat. Do you feel that there's a difference between accountability and responsibility, given your story? Maybe you need more explanation. But
well, okay. So if you take accountability, I am accountable for B&I in Devon and Cornwall. I'm accountable for the brand. Now, I'm accountable for ensuring that we have the meeting running in place. The responsibility for me, those people that have got those roles, okay, but that doesn't the burden of accountability doesn't move. So I think when you look at it is, whatever you choose to delegate, you may delegate the responsibility, but the accountability piece is yours.
Love it. Hopefully that's, well, I'm sure the person asked that, it sounds like a brilliant answer to me. Does anybody else have any questions or things that they've thought about or what they've heard, what Benson's been talking about? Anyone going to mute themselves? Is it an ever-moving thing then, accountability, Benson? I mean, at what point did you realise about how important accountability is in your life? Was it very much from them early days of what happened with your family when you were younger?
No, at the time I thought it was a burden, to be honest. I'm not being disrespectful. My mum passed away, and what I saw as a child, as a teenager, that my mates were doing things that I couldn't do because I had responsibilities back at home. Yeah. And I saw it as a burden, and I felt that I personally was missing out. And of course, as you grow and mature and you get wiser and older, you're thinking, damn, would I, at my father's age, want to be running and have the responsibility of a family home and 5 children? Actually, no, I don't. No. I know some people have that personal choice of how many children they want to have. That's a different conversation altogether. But it's a big sense of responsibility. And I think when you look, I think what's made me realise now is the great job that he did as a single father, which I probably didn't recognise and appreciate probably till I was about 30, to be honest. And that's just through my own education of lifelong learning and understanding the impact and the responsibilities, and just thinking about either the TED Talks or the audio books that I've listened to, and just thinking, when you go back and look at things that positioned you to where you are now, okay, what were those? We all have, it's no surprise that my brothers all have a very strong work ethic. I don't know where it came from. He got up early in the morning. I mean, it was really bizarre, because if you think about it, because we had a coal fire at home, he had no kind of sense of noise that he was making. he went out and he kind of cleaned the grate, you know, just those who have had a coal fire, he was cleaning the grate and going out and getting the coal, and you could hear the coal being shoved through. This is at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you're kind of half waking up because your father's taking that accountability of making sure that the family home is warm, but he's making I don't know why I didn't just fill the bucket up in the night before, I don't know. But you kind of get to that point, you're just thinking, man. Now, I am actually an ex-miner. I actually went down the pits in the end. And I know what that is to go down there. So, to be in that situation, I only ever got a phone call once to come out of there because of an emergency. And it was the most frustrating journey I ever took coming out there. That you're waiting, most people think you just go down a shaft and that's it. You go down a shaft, you actually get on a train. It's a bit like a tube station. You take a journey for 15, 20 minutes, you get off that, and then you go for another walk for another 2 or 3 miles. It's probably an hour. And he had to put his trust in, us, the people that had responsibilities for the different roles, coming home, having the food cooked, all that kind of stuff. I'm a great cook now, by the way, but that's the impact.
Brilliant. Awesome. Who's your go-to inspiration for things like that? Who do you tend to look up to, or you read, or you listen to?
So for me, I tend to look at how I can become better at what I want to do. The book I'm listening to at the moment is a guy called Ken Honda, who's going to be on the global convention this week. And he's talking about happy money. Now, when you look at the title, you're thinking, well, how's that a leadership book? But of course, this goes back to my point that sometimes you have to go and look at stuff to understand it's not the right things for you, or it is the right thing for you. And it's only once you go and explore and increase your knowledge set that you have your knowledge tree gets enhanced. Whether you want to put that into a skill set is another story, but you should still be probing to increase that knowledge skill.